Look, we all know the world's a bit of a mess right now. Between climate change making Florida look like a water park designed by Poseidon on a bender, and politicians who seem hell-bent on making sure we all get to experience the joys of a nuclear winter firsthand, it can feel like we're teetering on the edge of the abyss. But what if I told you it could be worse? What if instead of the usual bickering and regional dust-ups, every single country on Earth decided to settle their differences the old-fashioned way, with a delightful spot of global thermonuclear war? Now, before you say, Daniel, that's a tad dramatic, even for you. Stick with me for a minute. Because when you really think about the implications of a war that makes World War II look like a minor disagreement over a parking space, you realize just how utterly catastrophic, how mind-bogglingly awful such a scenario would truly be. Buckle up, kids, it's about to get bleak. Imagine a scenario where every country in the world goes to war. The consequences would be catastrophic on multiple fronts, affecting not only the nations directly involved, but the entire planet. Imagine, if you will, a world where the glittering skylines of our greatest cities become nothing more than smouldering craters, where the architectural marvels we've inherited from generations past are reduced to rubble in the blink of an eye. This isn't some dystopian fantasy, folks, it's the grim reality of modern warfare. And in a conflict that engulfs the entire planet, the sheer destructive power unleashed would be unlike anything humanity has ever witnessed. We're talking nuclear firestorms turning entire metropolises to ash, chemical weapons poisoning water supplies, and enough conventional explosives to make the surface of the Earth look like it lost a game of celestial dodgeball with a very enthusiastic asteroid belt. Trust me, you wouldn't want to be around to see the after photos. Now I know what you're thinking. John, this is all very depressing, but surely it wouldn't be bad, right? Oh, my sweet summer child, you see, beyond the crumbling buildings and the obliterated landscapes lies the true human cost of a global war. We're talking about hundreds of millions, potentially billions of lives extinguished. Men, women, children, your Aunt Susan who still sends you those weird fruitcakes at Christmas, gone. And for those unfortunate souls who managed to survive the initial onslaught, well, let's just say their victory lap would be a tad depressing. Imagine a world where food and clean water are scarcer than a competent politician, where disease runs rampant through the shattered remnants of civilization, and where the lucky few who are still alive find themselves scavenging for scraps in a radioactive wasteland. Fun times, eh? But hey, at least your stock portfolio would be safe, right? Oh, how I wish I were kidding. In this delightful scenario we've cooked up, the global economy wouldn't just take a hit, it would be drop-kicked into oblivion faster than you can say subprime mortgage crisis. Trade routes would grind to a halt as cargo ships full of avocado toast and fidget spinners are repurposed as makeshift naval vessels. The stock market would make the Great Depression look like a minor blip on the radar of financial ruin. And good luck trying to withdraw your life savings when the banks are nothing more than smouldering piles of rubble guarded by pigeons with a surprising understanding of monetary policy. Remember those survivalist preppers hoarding gold bars and canned peaches in their underground bunkers? Yeah, they're not laughing now, are they? Although they are probably trying to barter their way into your good graces with promises of canned fruit salad, the monsters. Chapter 4. Mother Nature's Revenge. It's not just the bomb you have to worry about. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, I live in a neutral country, surrounded by mountains and fjords. Surely I'm safe from all this apocalyptic unpleasantness. Ah, bless your heart. You see, in a global war, there's no such thing as an uninvolved bystander, because even if you manage to avoid the initial mushroom-shaped unpleasantness, the long-term environmental consequences would be felt by everyone, everywhere. We're talking nuclear winter shrouding the planet in a perpetual twilight, wiping out crops and sending temperatures plummeting. We're talking toxic chemicals seeping into the soil and water, turning our once fertile lands into barren wastelands. And don't even get me started on the potential for pandemics that would make COVID-19 look like a mild case of the sniffles. It would be like Mother Nature decided to throw the ultimate temper tantrum, and we're all stuck dealing with the fallout. To Chapter 5, The Great Migration, finding a new home in a world without borders. So let's say you're one of the lucky ones. You've managed to survive the bombs, the famine, and the global plague. Congratulations. Now, get ready for the Hunger Games-style scramble for resources and habitable land. With millions, if not billions, displaced by the conflict, the world would witness the largest refugee crisis in human history. Borders would become meaningless lines on a map as desperate populations clash over dwindling supplies of food, water, and shelter. Imagine a world where the picturesque landscapes of your travel bucket list are now overrun with makeshift refugee camps, where the fight for survival trumps any notion of national identity or political ideology. It would be like a scene out of Mad Max, only with less leather and slightly more existential dread. Chapter 6. From Democracy to Dictatorship, the allure of strong men in a world gone mad. And in the midst of this chaos, as the old world order crumbles around us, who do you think steps in to pick up the pieces? That's right, folks. It's the authoritarian strongmen and their charming brand of iron-fisted rule, because nothing says stability quite like a charismatic dictator with a penchant for military parades and silencing dissent with extreme prejudice. Democracies, already weakened by years of internal strife and the erosion of public trust, would crumble under the pressure. In their place would rise regimes more concerned with consolidating power and crushing opposition than with the trivial matter of human rights or rebuilding a functioning society. So yeah, about that whole things can't get any worse thing. Chapter 7. The Dark Ages 2.0 - kiss your iPhones and indoor plumbing goodbye. Now, for those of you who can't imagine life without your daily dose of social media or the ability to order takeout from 5 different continents, I have some bad news. In the aftermath of a global war, technological progress wouldn't just stall, it would come to a screeching halt. Supply chains that crisscross the globe would be severed, factories would be reduced to rubble, and the brilliant minds that drive innovation would be too busy, trying to survive to invent the next iPhone or self-driving toaster. We're talking a world where electricity is a luxury, clean water is a distant memory, and the most advanced technology you'll encounter is a rusty can opener and a good pair of boots. So put down your smartphones, kids, and maybe brush up on your survival skills, just in case. Chapter 8. The United Nations of Absolutely Nothing, so much for global cooperation. And as if all of this wasn't depressing enough, let's talk about the complete and utter collapse of international diplomacy. Because in a world where every country is at war with everyone else, who needs those pesky things like treaties, alliances, or international organizations, right? The United Nations, that beacon of hope for international cooperation and conflict resolution, would become about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. Decades of progress in international law and human rights would evaporate faster than you can say Geneva Conventions, and the world would descend into a chaotic free-for-all where might makes right. And the only rule is survival of the fittest, or more accurately, the most heavily armed. So yeah, good luck with that whole global community thing, folks. It's every man, woman, and child for themselves. Outro, the road ahead, a choice between ashes and hope. So, there you have it. A glimpse into the horrifying, soul-crushing reality of what a global war would look like. We're talking societal collapse on a scale that would make the fall of the Roman Empire look like a minor blip in the history books. We're talking about the potential extinction of the human race. Cheerful stuff, eh? But here's the good news. As of right now, this terrifying scenario is just a thought experiment, a worst-case scenario that hopefully will never come to pass. but it's a stark reminder of the fragility of our world, of the importance of diplomacy and cooperation, and of the responsibility we all share to prevent such a catastrophe from ever happening. Because the truth is, the future of humanity isn't written in stone. It's a choice we make every single day. So the next time you find yourself feeling overwhelmed by the state of the world, remember this. It could always be worse. We could be living in a radioactive wasteland, ruled by warlords and cockroaches. And suddenly, that political disagreement or environmental crisis doesn't seem so insurmountable, does it?